Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie and discuss it every week, just like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the silent film classic, Sherlock Jr. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1924, Sherlock Jr. was directed by Buster Keaton and stars Buster Keaton, Catherine Maguire, and Joe Keaton. A film projectionist longs to be a detective and puts his meager skills to work when he is framed by a rival for stealing his girlfriend's father's pocket watch. It's currently ranked 201 on IMDb's Top 250 and has a 4.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd and is ranked 79 on its Top 250. Before we dive too much into our thoughts, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for this movie. We are going to be spoiling a lot that happens in this movie. So if you should watch it, check it out, and then come back here, and then you can figure out what we have to say, because we did not want to ruin it for you. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what movie we're covering next week, because it's quite a different movie to this one. Alrighty, Kevin, so Sherlock Jr. This is our first Buster Keaton movie, which is super exciting. On the show, I have seen Buster Keaton films before, but it's our first one that we're covering here on the show, and by proxy, I think it's your first.
Buster Keaton my movie. First.
Correct. So what made you pick Sherlock Jr.?
How old it was, to be honest. It was a 1924 movie. I saw it on there. I go, it has to be on here for a reason, and I know why.
There you go. It is now the oldest movie that we have covered on the show. It just beat out Metropolis, which was 1927. This is 1924. You can definitely tell that it is 1924 because obviously the older style cars and the dress and everything. Metropolis feels ahead of its time because it's more of a science fiction. This feels distinctly of its time, which is really, really nice to see, actually.
It's very cool, actually. So I'm totally there for it.
It's literally like watching a window into the past. And I love watching films from before the 30s because you truly kind of see not only film in its infancy, but like what people thought was entertainment back then. It's so special. But let's jump into this. And I'm really excited to ask you this question. How was your experience? Your first experience with Mr. Buster Keaton?
My first experience was how in the hell did they do some of these shots? And I'm all for it too. Like, it was great. It's only a 45-minute movie, and it got me glued to the screen the entire time, no matter what. The one shot that I want to talk about first is the movie theater shot when he falls asleep and then he goes into the movie through the projector screen. Incredible, first of all. Absolutely incredible. And I can't tell if it is a screen projecting onto the screen and then just having the people in the background, or vice versa, or something like that. The entire damn time I was like, how did they do that, and how did they make it look so damn good?
Oh yeah, it's got to be from like layering of different pieces of film and cutting it out.
They don't make them like they used to anymore, though.
No, they don't. I mean, we have the technology to do so much now, but like we do lose a lot of what I'm going to use this word a lot. We lose a lot of the magic of what makes these films so magical.
It's so magical. I mean, like, even when he comes out, when he falls asleep and his like presence comes out and it's like a ghostly figure, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I kind of know how this is made, but it looks so real and so good, and they just can't make it like that anymore. I feel like maybe some producers can, but it's so different, and I loved it.
It's funny because literally today, before we did this recording, I was watching some films from like Georges Méliès from like the 1900s, and you're seeing a lot of similar techniques used here, just on better equipment and better cameras, and the way that the shots are staged to make it look like it's all in camera when it's really not. And when I say not in camera, it's multiple pieces of layers that they use. Layers. There you go. But it is It is something truly magical. Like when he dives through the person who's against the fence,
Yeah.
and then immediately she just walks forward. It is fantastic. But then like what I was kind of more getting at, and what he was more well known for, were the stunts.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
My man,
So good, dude. He risked his life half the time. It looks like.
the part when he's chasing the rival and the train almost hits him is just like,
Mm-hmm.
that's nuts by itself. Obviously, there are movies that he has done that they're not in the top 250, I don't think, for either Letterboxd or IMDb. But we'll have to get you to watch them at some point, like The General, or what was it, Steamboat Bill Jr., where some of his more ludicrous stunts are. Like there's the one in The General where he's actually on the front of a train, a moving steam train. On the cattle catcher
I think I've seen
part.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was all done in camera in one take. Like if he messed that up, he would have died. And it's
the other one where the house falls on top
Yes.
of him. Yeah. Okay, I've seen that one too, and it's so good. It looks, yes, he is risking his life for a lot of these shots, but he was willing to take that risk to get this perfect shot.
And if you think about it, he's known for being I forget what his exact word was. I want to pull it up here. He was known for being the great stone face, because his expression really never changes.
Never changes.
It's that deadpan kind of comedy that makes him really stand out from the time, especially because Charlie Chaplin would do most of his work after Keaton's time. Charlie Chaplin was more of the 30s.
Yeah.
Did some in the late 20s, but then was really big in the 30s, like Modern Times, which we covered, City Lights, and those kinds of things. But he was very expressive, right? This was kind of the opposite. This is someone who's just kind of like staying completely still no matter what's happening. And it's a testament to his skill and to his talent for being able to do that.
And it kind of makes him, even this movie, a lot more funny, because he's just stone faced the entire time. When he's reading the book, search everybody, and then he's like, we should search you for it, and he goes, you're right, we should. Like, it's kind of like, I don't want to call him dumb, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Like, he doesn't think about it too much. But dude, I was in for the ride especially when he's on the bike or the motorcycle, and the people are just shoveling dirt in his face, and you're like, that's so real. He could have just fallen off that motor. We probably did. We didn't see it.
There's probably multiple takes.
Yeah, and it's like, what was he thinking? But then you see the end moving, you're like, he had a vision and he wanted it done that way.
And I love the when he's on the bike, and there's the sequence where he's in like the background, and he's like on top of that bridge thing, and there's the shot where the two trucks kind of come through, and he rides over it, and then it gets to like where you think he's going to just jump off, but then the entire bridge just falls and it slants forward, and it's perfect where he needs to land. So well done, every single part of it. And like I said, it is truly magical. Is really the only way to describe it.
It really is, and I would highly suggest people who don't like silent films. This barely has any like talking in it with the cue cards or anything like that.
Okay,
it's very visual, and I'm a visual person, and I was like, oh, I'm so down for this movie. As soon as I kind of saw that it's more of non-cue cardy, it's too many cue cards sometimes kind of take me away from silent films in a way, and this one doesn't have that many cue cards in it, and I really enjoyed it because of that. And I was just in for the ride, and I am so glad we covered this one.
Yeah, and speaking of like the comedy aspect, I really love the end of this movie. When he's kind of just following what's happening on screen, kind of like, this is what you should do kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then it cuts in the film to like the couple having two babies, and he's just like looking at the camera like, what? And so that was funny. But I do want to kind of talk about my one small gripe with this movie.
Okay.
And I think that it's not necessarily a gripe as much as something I think would have made the film a little bit better. I think that, the main plot of this movie is that he has a girl that he's interested in, and he's blamed for stealing something that he didn't.
Yeah.
And that happens in the real world. And I think that storyline just isn't that interesting to me. I think that it gets much more interesting. I mean, it's great throughout. Don't get me wrong. Buster Keaton is fantastic. But like once he kind of falls asleep and kind of goes into the movie screen and all that, that's when it really gets even better. And I think it would have been fun to have the entire movie be about that concept.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he falls asleep and goes into the movie and becomes Sherlock Holmes or whatever, right? And I think that would have made the film so much more interesting instead of having some kind of dead time a little bit in the beginning. Again, not the biggest gripe in the world because it's still fantastic, but I think that that's that little thing that would have made it just that much better.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is too, I kind of didn't get why there were so many other people. Like you said, I would have maybe liked him going into the movies, and because he is the, what do they call him, a film operator or something, projectionist, and he's doing all of these films that he wants to be in, and it could be like a Sherlock Holmes action movie or detective movie or love scene or something like that. Love movie, I would keep saying scene. Love movie would be so interesting because he can put himself in that movie and do all of these different actions. But it's a little thing that you said, but I still really enjoyed that aspect of the comedy. That was more of the comedy aspect that he got framed for something, and then you get to see like the funny side of it, and then the action side is when he goes into the theater, into the movie.
Alrighty, so since the film is shorter, there's not as much to dive into with this movie. This will be a little bit more of a short video, so we'll go ahead and get into our final thoughts. But Kevin, this was your pick, so
Yes.
what are your final thoughts and what's your score?
My final thoughts are: this is a damn great movie, and I'm so glad that we got to watch it on the episode today. But it just has this magic to it. Like we kept saying throughout the whole episode, is the magic is there, and you get to see it unfold, and it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, they don't make them like they used to because we have CGI and stuff like that now. But this still gives me like, oh my gosh, like that must have been so dangerous, or oh my gosh, how did he do that when it's 1924? And that's what makes it so remarkable. So I gave this a 97 out of 100, which is 4.5 stars out of 5. Definitely watch this movie because of the short runtime and just how crazy this director is.
Buster Keaton is definitely crazy. No, I absolutely love this movie as well. I think that for a film that is just now 101 years old, it is absolutely insane how much this still holds up to this day, and how much we really, how much was changed, but how much really hasn't changed. Buster Keaton is fantastic in this movie. I think that he is among his funniest of the roles that I've seen him in yet. I think it's a perfect length. I don't think it overstays its welcome. I don't think it's too short. I don't think it's too long. In that, I just have the one gripe with the kind of the B plot being a little too long in the beginning. But other than that, 94 out of 100 is my score, so 4.5 stars out of 5. And I absolutely enjoyed my time with this. So the question now falls to you. What do you think of Sherlock Jr.? Make sure to leave those comments down in the comment section down below. But remember to be respectful of one another, because that other person could be your villain. But next week, we'll be covering the historical epic Lawrence of Arabia, going from a 45-minute movie to an over 3-hour one. So cannot wait to talk about that one. Make sure to watch it before next week so you're not spoiled. But that's it. So thank you so much for watching. We do have our live stream that goes live every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this show, Movie Club, which goes live every Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, make sure to keep those eyes, these ones, on the screen.